Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Batman Mr. Freeze Batcycle Battle set. And my goodness, this is a small set. It is much smaller to me than the part count and the price originally suggested. I mean, ultimately it's like two handfuls worth of stuff that you get here in total. I don't know, it's just so much less than I was expecting. There is some quality here though, so I will give it a fair chance, but let's go ahead and start with the smallest thing. This is Mr. Freeze's snow scooter, I think they call it. You know, it's just a small vehicle like a snowmobile type of thing that will work for him, and there's some proper design work that went into this, and it even has some details that are not absolutely necessary to just have something to hold on to a figure. The fan-looking piece there on the front is part of the Bat accessories pack that they've made available most recently, which looks pretty good. You'll see a bunch of other pieces from that same pack included, and we'll take a closer look at the Mr. Freeze figure itself. The kind of skids, I guess these are done in sand blue, which is a nice color. The other sand blue that you get on here is just on the front with those cheese slope pieces, and there's a trans light blue piece in there that's a slope, and there's a single stickered piece to represent his console or dashboard. It has a suggestion of a couple of control sticks there that I'm assuming he would be using to control the motion of this. It's too bad we don't get some physical ones of those for him to actually hold on to. This is okay for its size and all, but it is very small. It kind of rests on an inverted tile, that round one there in the center, so it's it can skid around and ski around relatively easily for play. This thing they call a Batcycle, let's look at without figures first. Any DC superfans out there who know exactly what this is supposed to represent, go ahead and check the comments to see if another DC superfan has already explained exactly what the canonical source of this is. I myself couldn't quite figure it out. To me, it looks most like the Tumbler from the recent series of movies. I mean, it's what it looks like to me. Is what they're trying to, or what the designer was taking inspiration from, with the small wheels that are exposed in the front and the big ones in the back that have the bigger treads and everything. But then it's not exactly a Tumbler. It's not supposed to be a Tumbler. I mean, it ultimately is supposed to be more of a motorcycle type of thing. It just has 4 wheels and tires. Okay, I like the detailing of this, and I think that it looks fun. Has a stud shooter right there in the front with a built-up projectile with a warhead on the front. That's way better than just a plain stud. These things do not actually fire off, but they look good. A different style of warhead from that same Bat accessories pack. Got a set of those over here. Nice looking exhaust, and plenty of places to hold on to minifig accessories, which is great to see in something so small. There's a spot for one weapon to be carried there, one to be carried there, and one to be carried in the center. Got a couple of bat wing looking things back here. You can actually kind of cheat that a little bit, change the angle, but not too much. The biggest feature of this, I like the use of the trans orange there, rather than going with an opaque color, because the light actually is able to go through that. I think that's pretty cool. But the nicest and most important thing about this is that it will split into 2 vehicles, so you get actually 2 usable, playable things, and this looks fine. This half looks fine to me by itself. That looks like a proper Batcycle. That one little red thing there looks a little bit weird, but it's not bad. Yeah, I like that. Appreciate the shaping on the center pod there. Looks like a little bit of fairing off to the side. And then the other one, well, it's pretty much the same thing except for these. I don't like those. The designer did intentionally put in more red to try to reduce the appearance of this axle pin out here. You can take some of this stuff out if you don't like the look of it, but it's structural, and I really don't like the blue myself. It bugs me way more than the red does. Red, at least, has been made to fit with everything else. But that's the general idea. And one of these gets the major thing, one of them doesn't. I believe you can also just swap all of this over. I think it's best to keep it on this side, but you could connect all of this stuff to the other side. Doesn't really matter. Ultimately, you get 2 cycles that are perfectly usable, and the intent is for one of your figures to use one. I'll go ahead and put a batarang right here. This grappling gun, which is built up with another of those bat accessory pieces. Very good. This also fires off because it's on a stud shooter. That's pretty cool, and it's very difficult compared to a stud to lose all of this. So this, I think, is actually good for play, better than normal stud shooting stuff. I'll just stand Batman here because yes, he does have to stand. Has to stand completely vertical. I can put his soft cape behind here. And he's got that printed console in front of him. It's not a terrible look, really. The front tire looks a little bit small there. He does stand up a little bit tall overall. But when you consider that this had to be made for both figures, and this Damian Wayne Robin is young and short, his katana will fit right there, conveniently. And when he stands on his, it makes a lot more sense. Well, first of all, he has to stand because he has the child-sized legs, which do not articulate. And I think I need to move his arms up even more to get him to fit down in there. Yeah. So that's an okay look, too. I can just imagine him leaning forward a little bit. Too bad he doesn't have anything better to do with his hands in this setup. But yeah, I think the proportions there work out better for him. So, for one of them, they weren't going to be as good when you put these two together. Oops. That's kind of a funky look. But yeah, that's the overall thing. I do wish, the more I look at this, I do wish that Batman was able to sit down here or had to lean quite a bit, because that is quite a bit of difference, and it almost makes it look like he's on a ride, like a kid's ride, or maybe something that is foot powered, like a foot powered old school scooter, But overall, it's a fun enough vehicle. I think that it makes for a pretty good toy, and it doesn't look bad. Taking a closer look at Batman and Damian Wayne Robin here, Rebirth era, I think that's pretty clear. Do correct me if I'm completely and absolutely wrong on that, but I think that both of these look pretty good. I think between the two, Robin looks a little bit better. I like the fact that the detailing for the torso just is, I don't know, it feels more present, taller relative. I guess it takes up more of the space of the figure compared to the Batman, who only has the printed torso, but then he's got the hip piece and the full-length legs that are all just plain. It's okay either way, but I would have preferred a little more space of detail applied to this version of Batman. The prints on the backs of the torsos, both of them, I think, are very good. There are their alternate faces, and that face for the Batman does not look good. Just the quality of printing. Not only is it pale, but you can see that it's a little bit spongy, a little bit splotchy from just how thin it was, and you can see some of the texture of how the material was. I think it's even bubbled up a little bit under there as the stamp was pulled off the thing. It's not looking so great for Robin either when you look up this close. I think in person it's much more passable. Actually, the Batman figure doesn't look too bad in person either down the center of it, but the cheeks are relatively thin. When I say thin, I mean the paint is thin. I do like this Mr. Freeze. I like the print on the torso there. You get a little bit of the metallic printing colors in there, and also gunmetal gray as the base color for his torso, hip, and leg pieces. There's a lot of stuff that's built up here, which is always fun to see. Minifig sized, minifig scale, minifig usable accessories that you actually have to assemble. Once again, using a couple more of the Bat accessory pack pieces. A couple warheads there used to represent tanks for the cryo freeze gas or liquid or liquefied gas. What exactly is that? The nicest thing here is the use of the new fishbowl style head element that we first saw on Mysterio for Spider-Man Far From Home, and it works perfectly here for this character, of course, almost as if it was made for him. Yeah, it just works out quite well. I'll go ahead and pop that off so you can see his face without so much distortion. The print there is not perfect, but I think the design is pretty good. Too bad the bands for the goggles are not able to be printed all the way around. That is a shame. It's very awkward to see that. I almost feel like they could have left off the band around the back, and it might have looked even less awkward than that. Let me take off this backpack stuff. Look at that. Look at that back torso printing. That is nice. Too bad you're not able to see that much of the time if you have everything on, but it's good work. That's a fair number of spare parts for a set this small, and a fair number of them are interesting, like the hollow studs, including one in red. You got the little printed console piece there. I really like that piece. Got one of these neck backpack adapter things, an extra whip, extra batarang, extra katana, extra one of these things. I need to find a proper name for that people can agree upon. And then this is just an extra build for an additional projectile. You know, it's official to the set for the main centerline shooter on the Batcycle. So overall, this is a good toy. It is. Like I say, it's small. It's smaller than I expected, but the price to part ratio is as good as I could possibly ask for. And that's including considering the fact that a fair number of the pieces are pretty small, but then it does have 3 pretty good figures. Not the most detailed of what they do, but the accessory pack I think is a good thing. Overall, it's executed pretty nicely, and I don't think they could possibly have sold this pack of parts for $15. So in the US, the next step is generally $20. So yeah, I think that it makes plenty of sense. And like I said, it's definitely a good toy, or rather a good set of toys. I'm especially happy that when you split apart the 2 bikes, each one does feel good, does look pretty good, and it plays perfectly fine. The building techniques are nothing too special, but nice enough, and everything goes together solidly well enough, even though there are a fair number of small pieces. And yeah, I think it's just a satisfying thing. It's just smaller than I as an adult expected, subjectively based on the pictures of the thing. I mean, you look here and you can clearly see that minifigures are pretty large, relatively speaking. And if you see this box in person, well, the pictures are very, very close to real life. So that should give you a good idea of what you actually end up with. Just don't consider the full size of the box. Just look at the individual things that are pictured here. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this. I did my usual builds for it, so you can check out the real-time build or the speed build. I'll link those to you on screen right now, and talk to you again soon.